What's up, guys? It's Brian again from Lake Kicker Scuba and Marine. If you are new to our channel, do me a huge favor, hit this little subscribe button over here and ding that little bell as well. That way you guys are going to be notified every time we upload new content. Now, we are in Chapter 2 of the SSI Science of Diving program, and in this video, we are going to be looking at physiology and what actually happens to your body as you descend below the surface. We're going to look at how our body absorbs gases and what happens to those gases, and we're also going to see how our body reacts as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Chapter 2. Now, the first part of Chapter 2 that we're going to be talking about is the cardiovascular system, and your SSI Science of Diving instructor is going to go over all different types of things, from red blood cells to white blood cells to what the blood is actually doing in your body while you're diving. In short, it's going to be transferring or transporting the oxygen molecules that you breathe in as a fuel source to your body's organs. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about what happens if you get, say, some type of nitrogen bubble in your bloodstream. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to combat, say, some type of diving malady underwater, check out the SSI React Right program, because this is going to teach us how to take care of a diver who has some type of, say, air embolism or something of that sort when they're diving. Now, the next part of Chapter 2 that we're going to be looking at, of course, is the respiratory system, and simply put, what happens when we breathe in. You know, here at the surface, we breathe in gas and we exhale gas. Well, it's not the same gas that we're actually breathing in and exhaling. As we breathe in a mixture of, say, oxygen and nitrogen, we're actually going to be exhaling a mixture of carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, or otherwise known as carbon dioxide. But when we're underwater, we need to understand exactly what we're breathing, what each gas does to our body, and then, of course, as we exhale, we need to understand not just how much we're exhaling, but how much of that residual, say, nitrogen or partial pressure of nitrogen, our body is also retaining throughout the dive. Now, the next part of Chapter 2 that we're going to be discussing is temperature and how it affects the human body. Did you know that water can conduct heat away from you 25 times faster than what air can? Your SSI Science of Diving instructor is going to go over the two types of thermias that you really need to worry about. One is hypo, the other one is hyper. Hyperthermia is when your body is overheated, and hypothermia is when your body temperature drops below, say, 98.6 degrees. Well, since water is conducting heat 25 times faster than what air does, there is a big chance that we can develop what's called hypothermia when we're diving. But by wearing the appropriate exposure suit, which you learned about in your SSI open water diver program, we can actually prevent the process of, say, blood shunting. Now, blood shunting, in short, is when blood rushes from your extremities to, say, heat up your core if you do develop hypothermia. But by preventing all that, we can be safer and more comfortable underwater by simply wearing the appropriate exposure suit. Now, the next part of Chapter 2 is more of a recap of what you actually learned in the open water program, where we dealt with, say, pressure and volume, and we dealt with squeezes, whether it's an ear squeeze or a sinus squeeze or a thoracic squeeze. And in short, we are going to learn how to manipulate not only our equipment, but also our bodies when we go underwater. But did you also know that there's other types of squeezes that you can get, such as a tooth squeeze? Yes. If you've had a recent cavity and, say, the dentist filled up that cavity with some type of filling, if there's an airspace in that tooth, you can actually get a squeeze in your tooth. Your SSI Science of Diving instructor is going to go over all the different squeezes and how pressure has affected your body as we descend down in the water column, and how we can prevent these squeezes from making our comfortable dive a very uncomfortable dive. Now, the next part of Chapter 2 that we're going to look at, of course, is the four major types of diving maladies that can occur if either one, we come up too fast, or two, we hold our breath during ascent. Now, the four types of maladies are, of course, arterial gas embolism, spontaneous pneumothorax, mediastinal emphysema, and subcutaneous emphysema. Now, your SSI Science of Diving instructor is going to go over each of those diving maladies, how to prevent them, and even how we treat them if, say, another diver actually develops one of these diseases during the ascent phase. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to take care of your buddy, check out the SSI React Right program and the SSI Stress and Rescue program, because these are going to be essentials for you to treat a diver who happens to develop one of these maladies while diving. Now, the next part of Chapter 2 that we're going to be talking about is decompression sickness, or otherwise known as Cajun's disease. Now, with decompression sickness in your open water program, you basically learn, based off your depth and how long you're at depth, your body's going to, say, absorb a certain amount of inert nitrogen. But did you know there's actually a different absorption rate based off a fast tissue or a slow tissue? Your SSI Science of Diving program instructor is actually going to go over those different types of tissues and how your computer actually calculates based off whatever algorithm you're going to be using. Now, if you want a really good class to understand how a computer actually works, check out the SSI Computer Diver program, because it's going to go over all the different features of your specific dive computer, and it's also going to be talking about different gas theories as far as the absorption rates. We're also going to look at different algorithms, and we're also going to be looking at gradient factors. Now, this is very important, especially if you expand your diving career and get into the extended range technical diving programs. Now, the last part of chapter 2 that we're going to be looking at is how does the body actually react to nitrogen at depth, and how does the body actually react to oxygen? Now, yes, I understand nitrogen is an inert gas and we absorb it, but did you know it can become narcotic the deeper that we actually descend down below the surface? Now, when we talk about oxygen, oxygen itself is a good gas. This is something that we metabolize and our body actually uses. But did you know that a higher partial pressure of O2 can actually become toxic? Your SSI Science of Diving instructor is going to go over the differences between nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity and how we can actually overcome it. Now, if you do want to learn a little bit more about oxygen toxicity, check out the SSI Enriched Air Nitrox program, because this is going to go into depth of how we actually calculate what's the appropriate amount of oxygen based off whatever our depth is. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for Chapter 2 in our series of the SSI Science of Diving program. We really hope this video and all the videos in this series helps you grow as a diver. We really hope it makes you more confident as a diver, and we hope it keeps you even safer when you're underwater. Now, I do want you to stay tuned for Chapter 3 of this film series, because we're going to be diving into decompression theory. We're going to be looking at things such as gradient factors and different algorithms. We're really going to be talking about how the computer works and what different tissue compartments you may have in your body, and we really hope that's going to help you grow as a diver, especially if you go into the professional level or even say the technical or XR programs. But if you got any questions on Chapter 2, drop me a comment down below, or if you got a concern or something that you want to discuss, drop it down below and we will do our best to have a good discussion with you. But until Chapter 3, take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.